The reason I went to Brazil was because it was exactly on the other side of the world to China. And the purpose of me going was really to find out if China's influence had penetrated a remote region as far away as this, in the same way we knew it had within Europe and America and the countries surrounding China. I started in Beijing and took a flight to Paris, and from Paris went on to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and from there went up the coast to Recife, which is on the northeast coast of the country. In Recife, I took a car and I drove inland for about 5 days, right into the center of South America. And as I got into Tocantins, which was the state I was heading for, I then had another day's drive to get to the capital, Palmas. Before I went to Brazil, I did a lot of research about the relationship between Tocantins and China. And I very quickly established that trade was the most important aspect of that relationship. And so when I got to Palmas, one of the first things I wanted to do was to contact the trade minister and ask him to explain in more depth what it was that linked China so closely to this remote state.
Basicamente, hoje, o Tocantins pouco tem de comércio com a China.
The relationship between Brazil and China, and specifically between Tocantins and China, is fundamentally important. The world is going through a crisis, but this is a great opportunity for China to buy from Tocantins foodstuffs. We don't just want to sell to China, but we want China to bring factories to Tocantins. It's an opportunity for China to occupy the space left by the multinational companies that are frightened of investing at the moment. China has been rediscovered by the world.
So once I left Palmas, one of the first things I wanted to do was to get to one of the big national parks in Tocantins. And I chose Jalapão because it was one of the biggest ones, and also people recommended it. I spent probably 3 or 4 days driving through this park. It was enormous, and the landscape was fantastic, particularly the waterfalls. Numerous waterfalls that in any other country alone, one of them would have been a major tourist attraction. As I drove from Recife to Palmas, and then also on the return trip, which was a slightly different route, I stopped at local towns and villages to ask people what they thought about China. And I was really surprised. There was obviously an economic incentive for people to trade with China. But I also found that a lot of people talked about the Olympics and talked about the amazing opening ceremony. Even in small places where I didn't think they'd have a TV, they were ecstatic about it.